Breaking news poolside, Novo Nordisk is ending its working relationship with Hims and Hers because they're not going to sell Wegovy anymore, Hims and Hers, because they also sell compounds. This is unprecedented, friends, and we're coming poolside with our live news. The count says that this video is a bad idea. I say it's a good idea. We'll see who's right by the end of this video. But what this is doing is A, it's rocketing Hims and Hers stock price. B, if you get your Wegovy through Hims and Hers, tell me down in the comments below what you've heard. I want to hear directly from you, but also from Hims and Hers. This changes the game because it's a precedent. I think it's starting the dominoes for other telehealth companies. But Hims and Hers is one of the larger ones that sell compounds but are also selling brand name drugs. This is monumental that they stopped with selling compounds, that they stopped selling Wegovy, and that they're selling that they're going to continue to sell compounds. What does this mean for the GLP1 community? What does this mean for people on Wegovy? What does this mean for your insurance? This is one of those things where Wegovy with Novo Nordisk, they are the kingpin over with CVS Caremark. How CVS Caremark recently, the past over a month ago, got rid of selling Zepbound at CVS Caremark with their PBMs. This is very fascinating to me because to me it's setting precedent for other telehealth companies who sell compounds and brand names that they are stopping that working relationship. I find this so fascinating. This matters so much is another example of what's happening with compounds and big pharma and the flashpoint betwixt those two. In addition, Novo Nordisk said that they were deeply concerned about Hims and Hers continuing to sell the, quote, knockoff drugs made with foreign illicit ingredients from China, quoting Novo Nordisk, and that they argued that they've not been FDA approved, citing Brookings Institute report, and that Hims and Hers stock was immediately down on Monday, June 23rd. In pre-market trading on Monday, Novo Nordisk was down 6%. Hims and Hers did not immediately respond to Axios, because that's who I'm quoting for this, which I, of course, will cite my source down below because I do require and demand that I'm factually accurate. They did not immediately respond to Axios' request for comment. Quote, Novo Nordisk is firm on our position in protecting patients living with obesity, says EVP of U.S. Operations Dave Moore in this release of where they're talking about it. When patients are prescribed semaglutide treatments by their licensed healthcare professional or telehealth provider, they are entitled to receive authentic, FDA-approved and regulated Wegovy. So, in April, Novo Nordisk announced plans to work with Hims and Hers, Ro, and LifeMD to sell Wegovy directly to patients. So this literally happened in April, May, June, near the end of June. And now they're like, zoinks, Novo Nordisk. Zoinks, no, I don't think so. This came after the FDA is phasing out compounded GLP1 medications, and pharmacies were told to stop manufacturing compounded semaglutide. The deal with telehealth companies was expected to expand Novo Nordisk's direct-to-consumer pathway, because if you remember, Novo Nordisk CEO Lars, I'm going to butcher his name, but Lars Frigard Jorgensen, he stepped down. He stepped down as the CEO of Novo Nordisk because the shares were not doing well. The Novo Nordisk declining share price, in addition, the stock wasn't doing well, and the increased competition about too hot outside and it's the next day. Okay, so with this is why it's so interesting. In that April deal with Hims and Hers, they were selling compounds and Wegovy. Also, Ro, another telehealth company, was selling compounds and Wegovy, and they got this bundling membership type thing of selling Wegovy. Ro stopped selling compounds on, let me pull up so I can be factually accurate. Ro stopped selling compounds on May 21st, 2025, no longer offering compounded semaglutide, which is Wegovy. Semaglutide is the active ingredient, Ozempic and Wegovy. Ro is no longer offering compounds for semaglutide prescriptions for new members. Prescriptions for existing members who were compounded semaglutide were also scheduled to end around this time as pharmacies phase out existing supplies. The FDA now only allows compounded semaglutide in very limited circumstances, such as when a patient has specific medical needs and cannot be met by the FDA-approved version, like an allergy to the ingredient, for example. So regarding Wegovy, yes, Ro still does sell Wegovy. Ro has partnered directly with Novo Nordisk to provide access to the FDA-approved brand name medication. And so that's why, because I was like, why is Roe not getting the same treatment that Hims and Hers is? And this is tumbling the stock price for Hims and Hers. It's like toppling. So if you own shares in Hims and Hers, not so great day on the stock market. However, in the Hill.com back on June 18th, 2015, the FDA removed Ozempic and Wegovy from the drug shortage list. We already knew that about compounds because it's changed. This is why I say you got to click like and subscribe, because information changes so quickly. So the FDA removed Ozempic and Wegovy from the shortage list a while back, but there was lawsuits happening with the compound conglomerate in federal court, and a federal court ruled that the FDA decision to remove popular GLP-1s from the drug shortage list, ending the sale of compounded versions of the drugs, was lawful, and that the agency, in fact, did act correctly. So you may be like, we've heard this information back in the spring, earlier this spring. Well, it went up to the federal court. It was getting appealed here in the U.S. So the U.S. District Court Judge Mark Pittman found the Outsourcing Facilities Association, that's the conglomerate of compounding pharmacies I was talking about, the OFA, an organization, they represent a ton of compounding pharmacies, was wrong in its argument that the FDA's decision to remove GLP-1 drugs are arbitrary and capricious. Earlier this year, the FDA moved semaglutide off of the list and filed this lawsuit. And so it's been back and forth ping pong in the federal courts with this, which is why, so if you note the date on that, let me go back. That was June 18th through 2005. This all happened with Hims and Hers. I mean, that bomb just dropped. I think that they were honestly waiting for that federal lawsuit to go through to see what would happen. And in fact, it's like they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's. They wanted to make sure, and they meaning Novo Nordisk, making sure that that federal suit, that they in fact won it, which they did. So then the bombshell was dropped on not bombshell, that's inflammatory. This change in this working relationship dynamic, I'm fascinated by it, by the way. So then it was on June 23rd. So what is that, like 5 days later, that there's this short-lived agreement, and the stocks, in fact, did sell for Hims and Hers did fall more than 30%. And it also affected Novo Nordisk's share price too. I just find this whole thing fascinating. I don't know about you guys, but I find this whole thing fascinating. About how they're going head to head. And this was back, in fact, that bundle for those memberships was in April. With Hims and Hers versus Roe was stopping. And I think that my interpretation is that Hims and Hers was continuing with the compounds for new patients. And you may say, Elizabeth, why would they do that? Money, it would be my guess. My armchair guess. I think it's money related. That's why, would be my guess. My not like opinion. You guys know I like to be factually accurate. This is my personal opinion, is that they continue to do that and, took a roll of the dice to see what would happen maybe. I mean, honestly, I don't have the back end information. Some of you who are smarter than I am may very well know that, but the fact of the matter is, it's a ton of money. These drugs are billions and billions of dollars, and the compounding industry in a given month for one company is millions and millions of dollars. So the whole thing is fascinating to me. How this relates back to our pocketbook then is it's setting precedent. That's what Novo Nordisk is doing, basically, in my opinion, of looking just armchair looking back, is they're sending and flagging the message of like, hey, don't mess with us, basically. And I feel like Eli Lilly, to go back, Eli Lilly manufactures Zepbound and Mounjaro. They're US based, whereas Novo Nordisk, they're European based. And so with Wegovy and Ozempic, I think that they've done this differently than Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is like I'm trying to be not inflammatory with my words. I haven't had enough coffee. This is the next day. I haven't had my full cup of coffee yet. But I think that Eli Lilly is more aggressive, is what I'm trying to say, more so than Novo Nordisk. And subsequently then, the CEO now has been out as a result of some of these changes. And so I wonder, and I'm curious, if the new Novo Nordisk CEO will be more aggressive, more litigious, because Eli Lilly's like boom, boom, boom. They are very much in terms of the lawsuits and things like that. It's been interesting watching this whole thing play out from an American-based company versus a European-based company on it. So, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I will foreverly be grateful for Novo Nordisk because of Ozempic's genesis and thus spawning Wegovy. And it started this movement for GLP, not because GLP-1s had been around before that, to be clear. This is, but the amount of results in which it happens. The cool thing that we do have, and I'm going to do a whole other video on this as well, which I find fascinating, is what's coming in the pipeline. I've got so much information for you guys, and I'm going to do separate episodes, not in this one, but on orforglipron, an upcoming another GLP-1 drug, another drug as well. There's a couple of them in the pipelines that we're getting clinical trial data back. So make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Those will be coming out within the next week or so. You'll see it in the title of where I'm talking about these other drugs that are coming in the pipeline. We won't see them until 2016, maybe 2017. Excuse me. 2026, 2027. I'm dating myself in terms of my age. And so we won't see those, for some time, but they're making their way through clinical trials. I think some of the biggest ones have been the concerns of, as I always go back to, gastrointestinal, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, vomiting, how well people lose weight versus handle those side effects. And it's like that teeter-totter seesaw of how well people can handle those. So it will be curious to see as we go through with these lawsuits. And then if you didn't see, the news has been bonkers. Literally, I go on vacation and the news has turned to bonkers. Trying to take a little break to recharge myself before Amazon Prime Day. And like the news just hits the fan for GLP-1 stuff. So what's coming down the pipeline in terms of Wegovy, how they didn't have their patent. If you didn't see that episode too, in terms of there's no patent, the patent is ending basically in Canada in January 2026. I got several questions on that. They're like, are you proposing you go to Canada to get your medication? And I'm like, well, so I'm giving facts. This is the facts that I see. And some of you had great comments on it, which I very much appreciated. I was saying in that video, the patent had ended, and you can go back in the playlist and watch it. Patent had ended for, or the patent, Novo Nordisk did not file for the patent to continue with the way that the Canadian laws are. And it will basically be able to be generic for semaglutide, which is Wegovy and Ozempic, January 2026. And so for personal use, I'm not saying massive bulk quantities, but it sounds like for sure Canadians will be able to get generic drug for around-ish $70 per month versus what it is right now, which is $499 per month for Wegovy. And that's with the savings card. People had mentioned the savings card. The savings card, though, if you look for Zepbound, by the way, to get it for that $25 is difficult. We will say that you have to have insurance and things like that. And so people are talking, anyways, that was one of the comments. And I wanted to say, getting those savings cards for Zepbound for $25 is you have to have it through your insurance. And a lot of people don't to get that. So that was answering one of the questions on that video. Number two, someone was saying for the Canadians, would you cross the border? Could you be able to do that? I don't know. Someone in the comments said that they had previously done that, but there's been some rule changes. And so, this is, I'm giving you the information for you to do your due diligence of what makes the best sense for you. I don't have all the facts yet on that though, because it hasn't happened. Like it's not generic yet, but I'm sure that more information, and you guys know I'll be sharing about it, of if Americans can cross the border to go get that prescription for personal use and then cross the border back. Because what I was saying was, gosh, how much is a flight up to Canada to go get, a 90-day supply, which 3 months, 90-day supply times $70, $210 versus a 3-month supply at $500, which is $1,500. So $1,500 versus $210 for a 90-day supply, 3 months worth. Like, would it be worth the airfare and the time and all of that? So anyways, that was what I was suggesting in that video. But there's legalities with that. And also I had referenced a section, it was like 804 or something like that. It was a section number about coming across the border with prescription medications. And so obviously, always doing things legally, doing things with morality, integrity. That is who I am. I would never suggest anything other than that. Like, I would never suggest doing anything shady boots. We are not shady boots here at the Countess of Shopping community, and I don't like being around shady boots people. So I was obviously saying in that video, and if there was any confusion on that, of course doing things legally with that, of finding out what the legal boundaries are and then working within the legal boundaries. But I think within the legal boundaries, it's fascinating to me that that may be an option. I think more information is needed, but I wanted to put it on your radar because there's so much new information continuously popping up, in particular, these new drugs coming out. But this whole Hims and Hers thing, meow, mean kitty. It's not mean kitty though, because we're talking about millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And when a lot of money comes into play, a lot of stuff happens. I'm wearing my Middleburg Humane Society hat because we love working with animal rescues, which why I was going, made me think of mean kitty. My beautiful friends, side note, I will link down below all of my sources that I've cited today with this Hims and Hers stuff. And then make sure you check out the upcoming episodes on those new medications. Your accountability question, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Today, it's literally like 95 degrees. We saw The Lost Colony last night, the play in the Outer Banks of The Lost Colony, and it was 90 degrees at like 88 degrees, to be factually accurate, at 10 o'clock at night. It was so stinking hot and there was no breeze. And so I wish I had one of those big fans. I wanted those like Andy Cohen fans, like, I need to find one of those because it's very hot. And so for my accountability, I really need to get out and move today. And it's going to either need to be in the ocean or the pool because it's too hot to go walking. I really wanted to go walking this morning at 8 a.m. It was already over 80 degrees. So I got to get my steps in. You guys had asked about my Fitbit 6 versus my Google Pixel. I actually do like it so much better. In my testing, I am loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it so much more than my Google Pixel that I had to charge every day. This I charge once a week. It is awesome. It has been awesome. So, and the Count and I have been swimming with ours. He has a Fitbit as well, and we've been swimming, and it's been waterproof. It's wonderful. I'll link that down in my Amazon shopping list down below. As always, with the upcoming Amazon Prime Day on July 8th, I will have coverage here starting at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time of all of the best Amazon Prime Days. Mark your calendar to be here. Mark your calendar. If you want to wake up with me, I'll be up at 2 a.m. on July 8th. Getting ready to cover the deals, but the information will roll out to you here on my email list and in my group. By the way, our GLP1 group is on fire because Facebook has closed down all of the GLP1 groups as of right now. If they had more than basically 1,000 people, they got shut down. So my group is shut down. So which is why the Count and I created countessofshopping.com/group. It's our GLP1 group. We have tons of people on there. The Count and I, out of our own pockets, have paid over $1,000 for that group. This is why when people are like, oh, you talk about these things, I'm like, how do you think we're paying for that out of our own pocket. So if you do feel so inclined to purchase anything, I am very much off of my shopping list. I make a very small percentage, but there is no expectation on that. There's never any expectation. I do free content with my free email newsletter, my free blog, my free videos, and the free group. I do that because I genuinely enjoy it and I enjoy our community so much. So, but if you do feel inclined to support those, you can shop through my links. I get a small commission off of that at no cost to you. But also, you don't have to do that either. That's the beautiful part about this. You don't have to do that either. But today I need to work out my accountability. I need to work out. I need to get that workout in. And then the second part, that's my main thing, is getting my workout in. I'm not tracking calories on vacation. I am focusing on high protein and more fruits and vegetables. I will be on, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this. I think I am, because by the time this comes out, it should be near it. I will be on HSN on July 1st. I will make sure I post all of my times. I'm not going to be on QVC. It is in fact with HSN July 1st, and I have like 4 or 5 shows with them. So FYI on that, and I'll be on HSN later on in July as well. So if you want to see me on TV, that's where I'll be. And so I need to start eating healthier. Your girl has been eating everything and anything, and I'm like, I gotta tighten the reins a little bit, particularly since I'm going to be on TV, and that TV camera, they use wide lenses, literally does make people look wider than they are. So I'm like, I gotta snatch it in. So my focus, those are my goals. What are yours? Tell me down below. And 2, our emoji of the day is, I want to do that emoji of the day. And if you are on your TV, you don't have access to emojis, so feel free to type something else in. But if you're on your phone, you can do the emoji of the day. This one where it's like like hair, like, you know what I'm talking about? The emoji where it's like, she has her little hand next to her hair. If you don't have that, you can just put hair, and I'll know that you made it this far in the video. I do emojis of the day to get to know you better because I care. And it also helps me with the pattern recognition of seeing your name over and over and over again. And then the third byproduct of it is I will pray over you. It's like my bat signal. If you don't believe in prayer, I will uplift you in positive thought, as all are welcome at the Countess of Shopping table. My beautiful friends, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I'm going to go figure out if I'm going to the pool or if I'm going to go in the ocean. Have a great day. Love ya.